Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Eric the Old Jarhead here. Thanks for being here. I thought I would take a minute today and first of all say Happy New Year, because if you're watching this, it's 2024, which, well, that's pretty crazy. But I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on, well, the channel and where we're going and what we're doing and why I'm sitting in here. So first of all, I gotta tell you, my shop is a complete disaster. It is a terrible mess and I gotta do something about it. So, as you can see behind me, well, I'm putting up some paneling, and thanks to Jason over at Northwest Sawyer, so thanks Jason. I have been making tongue and groove paneling for a while, and if you've watched my channel, you know that I've been making tongue and groove for a while. I did the entire interior of my cabin with tongue and groove pine that I did myself. That's why I started sawmilling, folks. And I enjoy doing it. It's a bit time consuming, and sometimes you just don't feel like taking that much time. And I wanted to get some paneling up in this room. This is my sanding room. Well, kinda. Its intent was to build this as a room with an air handler that could suck some of the sawdust out of the air, and a big gulp down here that I could, get all the sawdust out when I'm planing big slabs and stuff like that. So that was the purpose of this room. And of course I could do other things in here, but that was one of the big reasons for having this room done. And when I built the shop, well, we didn't finish it because I wanted to finish the walls myself. I have a sawmill. I can mill my own lumber, right? So I started doing that. And now I've got to take the lumber that I've made and start, well, framing in some walls. Now, I'm not talking about these walls here, so I'm going to show you these walls. Check these out. As you can see, I've got bare walls with some, it's a pole barn, folks, and so you've got 6x6s every so many feet. I think they're about 8 feet apart. And you've got 2x6s on edge laid out along the outside of the building, not between those 6x6s, and then you've got some R11 blanket type insulation, and then the actual siding on the outside of the shop. Well, that's okay, but it's not the best insulation in the world. So what my plan is to take 2x4s that I've milled and frame out essentially a false wall. I milled those 2x4s out of ponderosa pine, and ponderosa pine, it's great for knotty pine, and it's good for a lot of different things. But it's not really the best thing to make 2x4s out of. I mean, I can look at the wall here and, well, this is Doug fir and it's got knots in it, but it's not as bad as ponderosa is. It's actually quite a bit stronger, and it's commonly used out here. So why ponderosa pine? Well, I got lots of it, and structurally, I don't need the strength. It wouldn't matter if my 2x4s were only as good as a 1.5x3. In fact, I could cut them down to 3 inches. It really wouldn't matter, because all they're doing is providing a framework for me to put up my knotty pine paneling. So Jason did a video about doing some paneling in his shop, and all he did was cut 45s and then slap it up. And I thought, maybe I'm doing it all wrong. And I decided to give that a try. You know what? For something like this, it works great. Now, I will tell you that I do think tongue and groove is better for things like the interior of a house, a cabin, or whatever. I do think that's better, because when you use 45-degree cuts in this pine right here, you're going to have potential air gap between these two, because even if the wood is kiln dried, it's going to move with the humidity in the air and the temperature and everything else in the environment that you're in. So even though this stuff is nice and dry, it was good to use, the truth of the matter is, as it shrinks a little bit, if two boards shrink and you've got a 45-degree cut between them, well, that's going to expand and leave an air gap there. So you don't really want to use that for a cabin, for example, or inside your house. However, using it in here is perfectly fine, because it's not that big of a deal for me. It's a shop, right? So that's what I'm going to do. So I only need these 2x4s that I milled as some sort of structure to nail all of that knotty pine to. And I'm going to slip some R21 fiberglass batt insulation in that false wall, so that my walls, instead of R11, will be like R33. That should help a whole lot in maintaining the temperature in the shop here without costing me a pretty dime to do so. So that is part of what this is all about. I also thought it would be good to have a room that when I do things, Well, it doesn't look like the disaster of a shop that I'm going to show you right now. Let's check it out. All right, folks, here you go. Well, as you can see, my shop is a disaster. This is crazy. You always think, you know, you got a nice big 24 by 36 shop and you're going to have all this room to use, and well, this is what you get. Now, I'm not going to tell you I'm lazy or anything like that. I just haven't always gotten around to getting things done in my shop that I wanted to. This is a bunch of saplings that I brought down in the spring, and there's something that I've kind of mentioned, and somebody even asked me about peeling the bark and the dangers of not peeling the bark, and can you get bugs in the bark? And folks, the answer is 100%, absolutely, yes, you can. And this is what happens when bugs get in there and start chewing away on it. You can literally destroy what you've milled up. Look at this, isn't this crazy? But I can still use these, and I will, so have no fear. However, it's really not acceptable. I shouldn't have allowed that to happen, and I finally got them from outside where I had sprayed them to try to keep the bugs down a bit, but they weren't treated with anything that would stop the pine borers. They should have had all of the bark peeled, and then you wouldn't have this. So it's possible that there's still some living bugs in there. They have been sprayed, and I probably need to spray them again, but I've got to get the bark off of this. So that's part of my problem. It's right here where my miter saw stand is. And of course you can see some of the 2x4s and, well, a bunch of stuff I've been planing, because trying to organize what I'm doing here has been a bit of a challenge. And here's another example of what happens if you leave the bark on and pine beetles get into it. It's terrible, folks. So note to self, for anybody else, try not to leave bark on, even on your flitches. I know better. Admittedly, with my back the way it was, I was trying to get away with it, but I honestly forgot that April, May timeframe is the worst time to leave the bark on. If you're milling in the winter, it's not an issue, as long as you get it dealt with before April. That's when the pine beetles are boring into trees trying to lay their eggs. So you just don't want to do it at that period of time. You also don't want to leave slash laying around. It's a bad idea. So unfortunately, I got lazy. I let it happen, let my back be an excuse, and I ended up with, well, that's chaff. Bugs in the wood. I have found, though, that if I spray them with Home Defense Max, then when they hatch and they get out of the wood after chewing away for a while, they die. So it is what it is. Now, all of this stuff here, which is the 1/2-inch stuff, at least that's 1/2 inch, this a little bit thicker, is going to be paneling in that back room. Anything that's 1 inch will not. I'll save that for cabin projects. So that'll be for the cabin. And then all that 2x4 pine will be used to frame out walls. And folks, all of these walls need to get framed out so that I can insulate the entire shop. Now, that's going to be quite the challenge. However, I think that it's time to do that kind of stuff, right? It's winter. I'm not running my sawmill as much. So, you know, not running the sawmill, might as well do something else, right? And I have tons to do. First of all, getting this room done means I can start working on some other projects. Now, I am going to work on a project today, so I will bring that to you. And that is going to be a coat rack and some shelves for the outhouse. So if you've watched my cabin videos, you know I've got this big monstrous outhouse that we built, and we've been working on keeping it dry and siding it and all that kind of stuff. Well, I've been asked to put in some coat racks in there, a cell phone holder, you know, a place to put a lantern, that kind of stuff, just some shelvings and things like that. So I think we're going to get some of that done today. Should be kind of fun, and I'll bring that to you. All right, this is what I have in mind. I've got a whole bunch of saplings that I peeled previously, and I've got a whole bunch I just showed you that I haven't peeled yet. So I thought I would take my Logman Tenon cutter. Hold on. All right, here we go. All right, folks, so this isn't intended to be a review of the Logman Tenon cutters. If you haven't seen these are like monster pencil sharpeners. They work pretty good. And once you get them set up, if you have a powerful enough drill, you need a big 1/2-inch chuck multi-horsepower drill, you can take these and run your wood into them. That would be a little big, so let's take this one. I think this is the 1-inch one. Here you go. And cut a tenon with that, just like a pencil sharpener. Brrr, done, right? Then, once you have that cut, you can drill a mortise into a piece of wood, stick that in there. Now you got something you can work with. Now my intent, and I won't be using this piece, I'm just using it as an example. I'm going to cut some here shortly with some live edge. I think that would be really good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to drill my mortises at about a maybe 10 or 15 degree angle. And I'll set that tenon into the mortise and then cut those off so that you've got, 3 or 4 inches of a peg sticking out. And I think that's going to work really great as a coat rack in the outhouse. Simple, easy to do. Throw some glue in there, maybe throw something in there to hold that tenon in place a little bit tighter. Could even just screw it or something from the backside. Something real easy. And then mount it up on the wall, and away you go. So, I guess the thing to do is to stop yakking, get set up, and make some tenons. Let's get to it. You got to try to get this right in the middle and try not to turn it. That's a little better. Not too bad. I can live with that. We'll smooth that up a little bit, sand her down a little bit. All right, let's see what we got here. See if we can see this. So this piece was pretty gnarly looking, old, weathered, stained pine. Not the best piece in the world, but it was over 1 1/8 or just about. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna save this piece. It's gonna be the perfect piece to put those tenons in. Well, folks, here goes nothing. I don't know how much of this is actually gonna hit the inside of that, but that's why I'm gonna put some screws in it too, and who knows, maybe we split the back. There we go. All right, I like it. Here you go. Check it out. Got a slight up tilt to them, so you should be able to hang something off of those. The screws in the back are sitting a little proud, but because of where this should bolt in or screw into the wall, should be fine. So this wall's on 16s, so we can just go like that, zip her in, and look at that. Bing, bang, boom. Hang your coat on there. I think it's gonna work good. Now, we'll let that dry, and then afterwards, once that's fully dried, we'll put some stain on it just to protect it a little bit. All right, folks, well, when that fully dries, I'll put some stain on it. I'll probably put some shellac on it. I might even plug up some of these holes so that the ants don't decide it's a great place to build a house. But on the next cabin trip, which is coming up in a week, in fact, today's Sunday, it's coming up in less than a week, we'll put this up. Now, just so you know, in case you're worried, because here I am in the shop, not running my sawmill, don't worry. This cabin trip, I'm going to be running my mill, hopefully all day Saturday, trying to get some logs milled up for D-logs for the cabin. I've got a few logs there that are a bit small, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them. They got dropped in my log deck, and I thought, people often ask how small is too small. We're going to find out. But I'll probably drop at least one tree while I'm out there. So I've got some fresh dug fir or pine that I can mill into some D-logs for you. I've got about 24 logs of around 60 that I need. So I've still got about 40 logs to go, folks, 36 to 40, depending. I'll probably end up with more than 60 for this build. So I've got a long ways to go. So you'll probably see a few more D-log videos coming on the channel. But we've got a lot of 2x to do, a lot of 2x6s to do, 2x8s to do, some 4x8s. I've got a ton of milling to do, folks. On top of that, I'm going to be working in here. I'm going to try to get this wall finished off and then start working around. I'll finish that one off. And once I get both of these walls done, floor to ceiling, paneling all the way, then we start on the back side and I'll insulate those and then panel those as well. And then once those are done, well, we're going to move out there and start working on some of the walls out there. So stick around for all that. Lots more to come, folks. I hope everyone had an awesome holiday and you have a great new year. 2024 is looking to be a good year, folks. Positive attitude, right? That's important. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll drop another video right here for you to check out. I appreciate your being here. Y'all have a great day. The Old Jarhead out.